Hey, this is Judah Mantell for SceneForge Studio, and in this video I'm going to go over version 0.7.3. It's a great new feature for live compositing that I'm really excited about, so let's jump right in. So I have this scene here in front of a forest with some objects and a video surface here. Now the video surface is currently set to compositing because that's what we're going to use, and let's click configure to open up the menu here. Now I already have a source footage selected for this surface, and you can see that if I play it, it's of this woman walking towards the camera. Now with a head-on view of the footage before it gets keyed out, this looks pretty good, but you'll see that as I remove the background, which of course is what we're actually going to need to do, it starts to look a little weird, because based on the two-dimensional surface that she's walking on, she's essentially just hovering and then growing based on her positioning walking towards the camera. So this, of course, doesn't make much sense and isn't really usable in our current state. So what we can do is leverage the new body tracking functionality that is present over here. You can see tracking mode. Now there was always body tracking available, but that was really just for tracking the pivot point when you're facing the camera always. And that's not quite what we need in this situation. So what we can do is use this tracking mode dropdown to select between none, which is none, pivot, which is how it was before. As you can see here, when it's selected, we now have all of our tracking markers to demonstrate where they are being followed. So once the object is selected, if I play it, you can see everything following the correct spots. We even have a tracker for the head, which is useful for future features coming soon. But of course, it still doesn't fix our problem of her hovering here. And that's where the 3D track option comes into play. We can enable the 3D track, and you'll see that immediately, if I were to scrub through the video so she's hovering a little bit, it'll automatically resize and reposition the video surface so she's always properly on the ground. And you can see that even if I play the footage back, regardless of where she is in the video, she'll always stay the same size, which is really helpful. You see it still does jump back. That's simply because the video is looping and it's not ideal, but of course that won't happen if you're using a live camera or footage that was custom designed for your use case. So already this looks a lot better. We get rid of the hovering issue and of course the resizing as she walks towards the camera. But still over here it looks like she's walking on a treadmill. That's because no matter which way you cut it, this is still two-dimensional footage in front of our scene here, and there's not much to do about it. So that's where this really cool Locomotion scale slider comes into play. And what this will do is it'll translate the detected motion of your actor from the two-dimensional footage into 3D space. So you can see I'm going to get a top-down view here. As I increase the scale to, let's say, 5 for this example, it'll actually translate her movement to properly move throughout the scene as she's walking towards the camera. So I'm going to move this to the starting position, and I'm going to position it so she's behind this other character here. And then as she walks towards, she walks much further in front of this other object. And that's getting some really cool literal physical depth that you couldn't get from 2D footage previously. So you can see she's walking around our object here, which is super cool. Now, depending on your footage, you will need to play around with this Locomotion scale slider. I have it turned all the way up. It's a little exaggerated just for this demo here. But you can see that when paired with a shoot mode camera, with the camera in focus here on our actor, you get some really realistic looking compositing in our scene. Now, where the system really shines is where you enable shadows. So you can see when I switch to a lit material, now we actually get the realistic shadows of our moving character onto the scene. And if I go over here and turn down the lights in the scene, so we're just getting our rig lights, you can see it looks even better, which is so cool to me. So that is basically everything in this release, aside from a couple quality of life improvements. I hope you get good use out of this feature. It's really cool because it works entirely in real time. So right now I am using pre-recorded footage, but it still is tracking at every frame, and it's relatively lightweight too. So Of course, if you're on a larger green screen environment and you're using a live camera input, this will work beautifully and will really simulate that depth of your character moving through your scene. It's also a great way to kind of experiment for previs purposes. If you have footage like this lady here, the physical interactions of your virtual sets with your actual actors when it comes time to shoot on your scenes here. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to support@sceneforge.app or leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next video.